All right, this is part two of the People's Good Name and Credit and the Wuhan lawsuit. It's like a domino pileup. The Europeans owe the United States, and the United States owes us and the Chinese. Nobody's getting paid jack, and the rats in charge are all bound up in a big boiling rat pile, bankrupting each other, mostly over digits that don't exist. The curious and end result of all this is that, assuming the virus originated in the United States, the victims are being blamed again, and everyone everywhere is engaging in everybody is engaged in stupidly proposing to in-debt their children for the next 32,000 years over debts that literally do not exist. Stockholm Syndrome. People are really eager to give it up. You need to pucker up, stop farting around. These debts that are the fruits of fraud in all directions, odious debts, debts that should be written off, discharged, declared null and void, as if they never were. So that sounds like a jubilee, a reset, Nasara, Jasara, things that people have spoken of, or what is that? A universal basic income. So imagine 107-year-olds with no very clear moral compass or grasp of an adult reality, fooled by 3D photographs of cupcakes and fighting to possess all of these cupcakes. Because the debt credit system was hijacked and used to siphon money for government investments, the entire world monetary system has become more and more distorted and lopsided as this imaginary debt has skyrocketed year after year, and those responsible have made no effort to pay people with anything equitable. Imagine a guy sitting at a bar, sucking down Irish whiskey, and when it's time to pay, he says, sorry, a bit out of pocket today. My son will pay the tab. So his son comes in, he gets hit with the dad's bill, he pays it, but then his turn to pay for his own drinks come up, and he says, sorry, bit out of pocket, my son and grandson will pay. If this nonsense was allowed to continue as it has for decades now, for example, the recent glutting of $6.2 trillion to be charged against our credit as a stimulus bill, except that we return the charges to our children, would still be paying that debt 230 generations from now. So I think it's a tactic by Trump to default on the national debt, an illegitimate debt by the Federal Reserve, criminal Federal Reserve. So not only is that not fair to them, and also not legally or lawfully or morally enforceable, it's sheer Looney Tunes crazy bonkers nuts. That the fat men in Whitehall and their counterparts in Scotland and Hong Kong and Dubai and Tokyo and Bern and New York and Rome and Madrid ever let things slide this far is unimaginable. Yet to be fair, this skimming and scamming has been going on for so long that it's been institutionalized and compartmentalized, so that the majority of younger bureaucrats administering this fairyland accept this as the way it is, the way it always has been, and the way we do things. Again, incrementalization, generation to generation. This is what you get. Even though they are themselves the victims of it, and even though this was never the way we did things at any time in our history, or anyone else's history prior to FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, when this whole mess got going on steroids. There's only one known way to collapse the debt safely, and that is to revenue it as credit. Give all the rights, titles, interest, profits, and fees, etc. back to the people where it belongs to, and surrender the credit, what this author calls the national credit owed to us and the national credit owed to China, and so on. Unfortunately, the guys at the top of the rat pile are rats. They cannot imagine a world where they don't control everyone and everything. They also can't face the loss of all of that glorious debt used as a club over all the purported slaves, even though that is exactly what is needed to preserve the credit system at all. And now, get ready for the slam number 2. Not only has the office of the pontiff been closed since 2011, news that apparently escaped the vast majority of Catholic population, again, the Catholic population on earth, including senior clerics, but now Pope Francis has admitted it and signed the should-be non-existent pontifical calendar without claiming to be the vicar of Christ. He signed it in his own name, plain old George. So think about it. If you are in fact acting as the administrator of the biggest liquidation of commercial entities in history, what does that have to do with the Church of Christ? Or the Church or Christ? If you think about it, if you are in fact acting as the administrator, disregard that last sentence. So basically it has nothing to do with it. So you're told by this author that it's better to suck it up and take the responsibility for it yourself. And of course, that's the stance of the creators of the farce. I would assume that this is what Pope Francis is doing by stepping outside his role in the church to do this dirty cleanup work related to the pontificate. So, again, you can see that at annavonreitz.com. Reitz. So that's worth checking out.